Hey everybody, it's your boy Carlos here.
And Joseph.
And this is The Passenger Seat. Alright, so if you guys seen our first episode of Book 1 of the Avatar series, we're now entering Book 2, which is Earth. Really good series, really good season as well. Mm-hmm. We'll kind of do the same thing as we did from our first episode and give you this general, summary, overview of the entire season. Yeah.
So Book 2 really emphasizes on the fact of Aang having to learn the one element that he didn't learn in Book 1, which was
Earth. And the reason being is because each element clashes each other. So if you're an Avatar and you're Fire Nation, it's very hard for you to learn water. So if you're Air Nation, it's very hard for you to learn Earth. And that's why Aang has such a struggle with it.
So yeah, basically Aang has to learn Earthbending, which is his, elemental opposite.
So I guess in the start of the series, just to summarize how they go from there, they actually think about, we got to learn Earth to be able to defeat the Fire Lord. Who's best to teach him Earthbending? So the first thing that comes to their mind is Bumi, which is Aang's old friend. Essentially appears in the first season, and he's a master earthbender, but when they come to his kingdom, he's captured by a new character that we are introduced to, which is Princess Azula, which is Zuko's sister and crazy villain.
Yeah, she's a really good villain though.
She is.
In terms of her alignment, she's just just evil.
And she comes with two friends, or colleagues, or whatever you want to call them. And one of them is May, which is May and Ty Lee. Which Ty Lee is a chi blocker. She has the ability to block people's bending. Yeah. And May is a weapons expert, knife expert. I don't know what you would call that, but essentially, that's May. Oh, and Zuko's lover.
Love interest. Okay, yeah. So we've got that, Azula, Ty Lee, and May, they capture Bumi, and basically Bumi tells them hey, just get out of here. Yeah. Find someone else.
He's trying to save his own kingdom, and basically he just doesn't have the time to.
Yeah. The cool thing about Bumi is that Bumi's captured, but not really.
Not really. He was earthbending with his neck. He was like...
Yeah. He's like, guys, I could get out of this if I wanted, but, I'm just doing this. You'll understand later. Just go and find someone else.
So, I guess, really, one of the important episodes in this one, I know a lot of people are, they see it and it's like a filler episode or whatever, but it's when they arrive in the swamp. Because when they arrive in the swamp, each of them have visions, but Aang is the only one who has a vision of the future, and that's where he sees Toph for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And Toph is running around and giggling. I think there was a flying boar next to her because that's her family's crest.
Yeah.
And from then on, he was like, I have to find this girl. She's the one who's going to teach me earthbending. And essentially, they go to I don't know what.
He didn't think that it was going to be her earthbending teacher. He just he didn't know what was going on.
But And
then when they went to the Earth Kingdom, they were going to this earthbending match. They went to an earthbending school.
Yes, which sucked.
Yeah, which was terrible. And then the earthbending school, they heard the kids talking about rumors about these earthbending style wrestling matches. Mm-hmm. Or brawls or whatever, and they decided to go to that to see if they could find an earthbending teacher. And
the boulder.
Funny, what's it called?
The Rock reference.
The Rock reference. But they end up seeing that girl.
Yes, the Blind Bandit.
The Blind Bandit, and she was the champion of this,
So we are introduced to Toph, plays a very important role in the rest of the series. Mm-hmm. Toph is blind, as we mentioned by the Blind Bandit name, but it's showing her past. She's able to learn earthbending through her feet, so she doesn't wear shoes, but still, she learns earthbending by sensing the movement on the ground, and it just makes her a better earthbender in theory. She's just one of the best earthbenders ever.
And she learns earthbending from badger moles, which were the original beings to do earthbending.
Yes, actually going back to that, since we mentioned in book 1, and Aang has the flying bison, each nation or element has their own animal, which air nomads have the Flying Bison. Fire Nation has the dragons. The Water Nation has the moon. And then coming, from the Earth Nation, as you can see, they have badger moles, which are creatures that are also blind and can earthbend. So this is where she learns it from. She escapes her family one day and I think lands in a tunnel. And she can't find her way out, and they basically teach her how to get out of there by teaching her earthbending. So yeah, that's Toph. And they try to get her to be their earthbending teacher, but her parents are extremely strict and think that she's so vulnerable until at the end where she basically fights all the wrestlers, and then her dad's like...
Right, so clarification, Toph, when she's with her family, because her family's like royal family.
Yeah.
She acts, very refined.
She acts vulnerable.
Yeah, she acts refined, like, she can't... And then her parents have her in that esteem, so they don't know about this, alter ego of hers being, the Blind Bandit, being a very strong earthbender, or probably the strongest earthbender.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, Toph is the only character there with a last name.
Beifong.
Beifong. No one else has a last name.
Basically, this whole book goes through Aang trying to learn earthbending, and there's a couple of things that we have to mention, of course. We have a couple of side notes in this book. We have the what's it called? I forget the Cave of Two Lovers.
The Cave of Two Lovers.
That's very important because
Secret tunnel.
That's very important because that's when Aang and Katara's love interest really starts to develop in a sense.
Yeah.
Because Aang was always sort of infatuated by Katara.
As soon as he woke up, he saw her face.
Yeah.
He was just there.
Then we have Zuko is when he starts to develop this
good side, basically.
Yeah.
Not a good side, but starts noticing what the Fire Nation is really causing to people.
Yeah, and so he starts to develop some sense of righteousness. Then you have things like the library in the Serpent's Pass. The library was they find like this
library underground. Essentially, the library, the reason they enter is because they try to find a map of the Fire Nation to basically uncover all their weak points. But by entering there, they actually find out that the Fire Nation is going to be weak on the winter solstice. So that's when winter?
Not the winter solstice. The day of the eclipse.
The day of the eclipse, I stand corrected.
Okay, and there's a couple extra things in this, in this season, and that one of the most recognized because it has the Emmy.
Oh yes, which is the
chapter 15, the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
So before we get there, good episode. But the reason they're in Ba Sing Se was because why did they enter Ba Sing Se? Oh. Sorry, cut that back. So they go to Ba Sing Se to warn the Earth King or get the Earth King's assistance to defeat the Fire Nation. But as soon as they get there, the Earth King is, not dumb.
He's ignorant.
He's ignorant only because his right-hand man is keeping him that way because he wants to control the Ba Sing Se.
Right, so pretty much, again, Ba Sing Se is like this innermost... It's a lot of walls in a lot of cities, and then Ba Sing Se, the capital's like
right
in the middle.
So
everything happening on the outside, nobody knows what's going on. And like Carlos said, his right hand man, the commander of the Dai Li, which is like some secret operative agents.
Freaking Dai Li.
They have him under wraps about
everything.
Yeah, they're keeping everything under wraps. That's what I wanted to say. Especially the fact that the Fire Nation is at war with everybody else. They don't, the king doesn't know that.
Yes.
And eventually during this book, Aang, Katara, and Sokka have to prove to the king that there is something going on. And how do they do that? By showing the king a huge drill that's trying to break through the walls of Ba Sing Se.
From the Fire Nation.
And there's no denying the fact. But anyways, back to the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
I just wanted us to get there so then we could talk about why they're there. So the Tales of Ba Sing Se are essentially little stories of each character going through something, or like not necessarily developing, because Sokka's was kind of pointless. But I guess the most important one of the Tales of Ba Sing Se, which is one of the most respected scenes, was Uncle Iroh's scene, where when he was a former general for the Fire Nation, he had to take over Ba Sing Se, and his son died in the process of trying to take over. And in this episode, it shows him visiting his grave. And
well, he doesn't visit the grave.
Is that not where he buried him?
I'm not sure it's where he buried him. He just propped up the photo and then the incense.
Oh, I thought that's where he buried him.
Well, the point is, the episode is him doing various acts of kindness to people. You know, a person tries to rob him, and he teaches him how to properly rob someone.
That was so great.
What are you doing?
I'm mugging you!
With that stance?
And then they sit down and have tea together, and then he has the kid who's crying and, you know, consoles the kid, and does these other, you know, very nice acts to then, at the very end, you know, have him go and pay respects to his son. And he starts singing the song and he starts crying. And that's when you realize how deeply affected he was by the pretty much the demons of his past.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful episode.
Leaves from the vine, falling so slow.
This wasn't exactly what coincides with, like, when they finished this series, unfortunately, the voice actor of Uncle Iroh, which is Mako Iwamatsu, has unfortunately passed away when that's finished. So they dedicated that episode to him himself, which was really sad because he was such a good voice actor, did so many roles, and he played Uncle Iroh so well. It was very hard. So that was a very important episode in season 2. Yeah, definitely.
You have the other issue where, you know, during that time before they got to Ba Sing Se and they were still in the, you know, with the library in the desert, when Appa got stolen.
Appa got stolen.
That was a really big deal for
Aang goes berserk.
I was so angry about losing Appa, I couldn't control myself. I hated feeling like that.
Aang goes berserk.
Cactus juice.
And then we have another really important part in the Avatar, and it's when Aang goes to visit a guru.
Yes, Guru
Guru Patik.
Guru Patik.
And basically, the guru is able to basically explain the chakras in the body and how to unlock them, so he could have access to go in and out of the Avatar state
willingly, as he pleases, and has full control. Because that was the thing. Every time he went into Avatar state,
he'd lose control.
You have to understand, for the people who love you, watching you be in that much rage and pain is really scary.
Yeah, so that's a very important part. But while he was off doing that with the guru, Sokka and Katara were on their own thing, trying to sort of, you know, deal with stuff in the Earth Kingdom.
But unfortunately,
they get captured.
Because throughout this whole time, Azula was her and her group were basically disguised to help out the Earth King without them knowing.
So they attempted a coup and succeeded and took over the Earth Kingdom
and the Dai Li.
And they ended up capturing Sokka and Katara. And while Aang was training with the guru and opening his last chakra, he has a vision that Katara's in danger.
Yes.
So he ends up leaving his training unfinished, you know, to go and rescue Katara, which, you know, it was bad for his training because the last chakra was the crown chakra, where he had to leave all of his worldly
emotions, attachments. Yeah.
You must learn to let go.
Why would I let go of Katara? I love her.
Ultimately, the book 2 ends on him arriving to Earth Kingdom and fighting
Zuko and Azula. Which unfortunately Zuko was in this process of being good, and then he reverted back to what Azula basically was taunting him and and basically telling him
whispering sweet nothings in his
sweet
ear.
nothings, and it's just a bunch of crap coming from her.
Yeah, so basically, as Aang finally decides to give up his worldly attachments and go into the Avatar state. Azula hits him with a sneak attack
With a
lightning strike and ends up just disabling him completely.
Well, I think he either almost died or died.
He was on the brink of death, and then
Katara had to use the...
She had water from the pool where the moon spirit and the ocean spirit was, and it was like very like sacred water or something, and then she used that to heal Aang.
And make him, During this process, it was very sad, like, scene where you see this disconnect between Uncle Iroh and Zuko. Because Uncle Iroh eventually turns good because, well, I mean, he's always been good. I mean, let's be real.
Yeah,
Uncle Iroh has never been...
After he lost his son is when he did, like, soul searching to really find...
So he actually tries to protect the Avatar and the whole group, and... Yeah.
I'll hold them off as long as I can.
So another important part on the episode of the Guru is actually a very good episode. It explains so much, but during this, Toph actually gets captured by two earthbenders who were sent by her own family to go ahead and capture her. And they encase her in this metal container because they knew that she couldn't earthbend her way out of there. So this is a very pinnacle moment in the series because she actually learns metal bending, which explains subcategories in bending styles.
So that's, while the Guru was explaining things to Aang, he's explaining how the elements are connected. How metal is just like a bunch of
minerals,
which is essentially earth. So, and then she does metal bending, and like Carlos said, we get explained subbending, which again, the first instance of that was fire and lightning.
And well, yeah, you're right. From Uncle Iroh, it was explained that fire can also control lightning. Wasn't explained hardly enough because I'm like, how is that a thing? But apparently, there's two ways to. I think there was like two ways to do it, and Uncle Iroh's way was essentially gathering lightning through the body from the sky.
Oh, because he would,
Azula, for some strange reason, Azula was able to do lightning by just thin air.
No, so they were both able to do lightning.
Okay.
Iroh, however, he learned from waterbenders how to redirect it.
Okay.
So you could shoot lightning, but Iroh he taught himself how to capture that lightning and send it somewhere else, which was a really big thing because Fire Nation is all kill.
Yeah.
And he used waterbending, which is more like peaceful to
find
a defensive way for it.
Really good. I love the way the storytelling is. I don't know how they created all this stuff, but it was just the whole subcategory thing. Adding that was just icing on the cake in this series.
All right, so that pretty much concludes book 2, and like, comment, subscribe. Make sure to leave a comment down below of what your favorite moment of book 2 was.
Top.
Or if we left anything out.
Again, just like our last video, there's so much in each season. We're not able to put it all into one video, so
sadly,
just go ahead and add stuff in the comment section. So
we hope you enjoyed this ride with us, and hopefully you'll join us next time here in
The Passenger Seat.